Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. I appreciate you jumping on here. My name is Zara with the NROC Project. Please, if you haven't already, share your name and where you're from. There's a lot of folks on here. So really cool to see all the different areas people are logging in from. So I just want to start off on a personal note. This is my little munchkin, Harvey. And it's my third day back from maternity leave. So please bear with me as I try to remember everything and as everyone has questions. But I also wanted to, I chose this particular picture for a reason. And no, we don't generally leave our baby with this many toys in their crib, but I came downstairs, my husband had her playing with all this stuff and she was grabbing everything. I'm like, oh my goodness. But kind of similar to our students, right? Where we're throwing a bunch of technology and resources and different things at them, and they're expect to know what to do with them. What's going to help them learn this? What's going to help them, be successful in a career? What's going to help them be successful in their life? So I just thought it was kind of a funny picture because she's trying to grab everything and figure things out and navigate life as a 3-month-old, similar to our students. So my goal today is not to throw another piece of technology at you, but we will be talking about piece of technology. It really is a student-centered approach, and our goal is to really help students succeed, to give them the tools to grow and to achieve their goals. So just a little something I would share. And again, my name is Zara Massacott. My email is there. I'll share it again later with the NROC project. And we're already working with a lot of folks with Literacy Minnesota as partners of ours. So we can touch on that, and you may have already be using some of our resources, which is great. So thank you so much. But if this is new to you, hopefully you gain some great information. But the NROC project, we're a mission-driven organization, so really helping students on their journey, particularly for building foundational skills in math and English. So as a nonprofit, we've made a commitment to help solving problems that are most important to you. And so one of those big problems that we've heard and listened is really getting students prepared with basic math and English. So, whether it's a goal for college, whether it's for career, whether it's to help their family, that's kind of the idea behind why we've built a particular program called EdReady, which is something that can help students achieve their goal within a math and English context. So that's what we'll focus on today. So we're going to go over some free and low cost tools that can empower your students to improve these skills. And so one of those tools is EdReady. And this is a particular platform that allows students to take an initial diagnostic, see where they are today through a personalized study path, and grow to achieve their goals. So some of you may have heard of EdReady. I don't know. I know there's a lot of people on there, but certainly a raise of hands or something in the chat if you're familiar with EdReady or you're already using EdReady. It would be interesting to know if there's folks already using it through Literacy Minnesota. Or if you are using it, if you have any particular questions, certainly feel free to put those in the chat and we'll try to get to them through our session today. So, and I have a link here. We're going to be sharing the PowerPoint presentation. So there's a few links throughout the presentation that'll be helpful for you afterwards. This is a link to all of our adult education resources, and we'll get to different links for EdReady and some of our other free tools as well that you can start using right away. Christy, love EdReady. Unfortunately, our students don't utilize it like I would like. So that can happen. Glad you love EdReady. So maybe learning about some of our partners and how they utilize it might be helpful today. So thanks. Haven't heard of it, but just had a student ask about doing self-diagnostic math. Wanted to know her grade level. So perfect. Yeah. So EdReady does allow for has a diagnostic and allows for a self-paced approach. So we're going to dive right into that today. The first thing I'd like to do is share a video that I thought is just kind of gives an idea of how one particular student, Latanya, in our Fairfield Adult School in California, succeeded. She's, a typical adult ed student, was very afraid of going back to school, particularly because of math, and just kind of getting over that initial milestone helped her succeed. So I'm just going to play the video. And yes, I will try to share the links in the chat, but they will be available in the PowerPoint presentation afterwards as well.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Latanya Magruder, and I'm a student at the Fairfield Sassoon Adult School here in Fairfield, California. I am actually not your typical high school student. I'm a mom and I'm a grandma. But I never finished high school. And the biggest reason for that is that I was totally intimidated by math. But here at Fairfield Adult School, I have had the opportunity to use the Ed Ready program, and it has been a tremendous help in my life. For somebody that was intimidated by math, the Ed Ready program is great. It's a program that you can use independently and privately at home and at school. It tests you on the skills that you already know, and it encourages you based on the results of the tests that you take with the skills that you already know. And it sets up an independent program for you to practice in the areas that you are weak in, areas that maybe are familiar to you. After having done that and, participating in the program, I have exceeded my own expectations and overcome fears in algebra, which I've never made it to algebra. I've always been in general mathematics. And so now that I have completed an algebra class and actually earned my credits, I can focus on other areas at school and eventually graduate sooner than I actually anticipated because I was afraid of math. So thank you, Ed Ready. I appreciate the program and keep it available to students like myself and others who could definitely benefit from it.
So really nice testimonial there from Latanya. She has achieved a lot, and if we have time at the end, I'll play you another video of where she is today, because she's made some really great strides. But I just thought that resonated probably with a lot of you in terms of just that initial barrier that math can create for a lot of students and trying to get past that. So we do have data from many institutions that we'll go through a little bit later, just to give you an idea of some particular institutions and the specific things that they're tracking in terms of progress and, student results as far as gains is getting through, if they're going into college, getting through developmental ed courses, graduation, careers, things like that. So we have some of that data that we can showcase. And something just to keep in mind, we do offer a broad customization to our supporting partners of the project. And we're a big community. So we share effective implementation strategies apart our partner community. So if you have ideas, likely someone else in our community has done it. So, like someone was saying, they're having trouble with their students doing it. So we can certainly connect you with one of our partners on how they got started. So we have a lot of similar institutions doing really creative things. So edready.org, this is a pretty straightforward link that hopefully I can put in the chat, but it's just edready.org is our free and open website. So it's free for individual student use. And again, we'll talk about kind of what literacy, if you're working with Literacy Minnesota, already having access to some of that to be able to customize it as an institution, but students have access right now to edready.org to do to use some of our resources. And thank you, Rob, for putting that in the chat. So we've really seen learners embrace the technology for various goals, which you see listed here. So we see it as a low stakes measure for students to gain skills. So there's a lot of high stakes assessments out there. We're a low stakes approach in order for students to really see where they're at with a diagnostic. So it's a low stakes assessment, and then be able to grow and build on those skills. So you can see listed here, things like GED, CASAS, TABE. We have full alignments that are ready to go in these areas, and feel free to put in the chat if there's certain particular ones that would be important to you in Minnesota. And EdReady is, again, personalized for any learner as they go through a learning path. So this is just a quick screenshot that we'll get into the actual demo shortly. And our goal is to engage and use real world examples that students can relate to. So we know adult learners, they might be doing basic math, but we don't want to give them, cartoon or kid examples. We have all real world examples that our adults can relate to. And our courses and tools are designed to recognize every student's unique learning needs and preferences. So using adaptive technology, fully accessible technology, personalized study resources. We'll get into those specifics in a demo, but the content you'll see is broken down into easily digestible units and topics, so students are able to go at their own pace. We use everyday language that students can relate to. Really, our goal is to be flexible and have a lot of different things so that students hopefully resonate with a few pieces of the media. So we've worked with our adult ed partners to create different alignments in area that's the greatest need, particularly for our adult ed partners. So all of these alignments are available to you as a partner. So you can see here, again, GED obviously is very popular, CASAS, TABE, NRS Math Scope. So we have a lot of out-of-box solutions that are tied to these particular goals. So if students have a goal of in their GED, we have an alignment specific to math and English that covers those concepts that will be also covered on the assessment. Any questions on that? I'll just pause for a moment. I'm going through this initial stuff fast so that we can kind of get to the demo and get to some of our partner examples, but just wanted to give you a little bit of background as I thought it proves helpful before we dive into a demo. We also, so we've been talking a little bit about math, but we also have English. It's a little higher level. So our math is basic arithmetic through pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, and some trig. So it basically goes through basic arithmetic through college level. The English is a little bit higher level to start off with. It's 9th grade through college level and covers reading, writing, and grammar. But certainly we have a lot of creative use cases in many states for our English content. So I'll just pause again to see before we dive into a demo, any thoughts, questions, how you're currently, anyone want to share how they're currently helping their adult learners prepare, particularly for math and English on, whatever is it, whether it's an assessment that you're preparing students for a particular goal. It's okay if no one wants to share. I know we have a lot of folks on the content, but I just thought I would take a pause to see if anyone want to share what they're currently doing or GED ready. Yep. Burlington English, very popular math tutor. Cool. Thanks for sharing. So folks that are partnering with Literacy Minnesota through distance education already would have access to EdReady. So that's kind of a benefit to you. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Lots of different tools in use. So again, lots of different technology and tools out there. So finding the one that works best for your students. Obviously, that's our goal as a mission-driven organization. We want to look out for our students. So this is just another tool that you may already have access to, or maybe something different that could help a student struggling with other methods. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into EdReady so that way you guys can take a look. And let me just check the chat here. Looks like a question that are trying to get high school equivalent, for example, is this a tool that would help students with credit? Yes, we do have Schools using this for credit recovery is particularly in summer programs to get back up to speed. So it's a really great use case if students have fallen behind or they're trying to prepare, they can use it certainly as a credit recovery tool. It is a full math curriculum for developmental ed, as well as we have Algebra 1, Algebra 2 program. So certainly there are options there for credit recovery. So we're going to dive into our adult ed demo. So here, this is something I'll just grab and put into the chat. So unlike edready.org, which is for our open and live site for students to use, this is just a demo environment for you as educators to see how EdReady looks, so you can be able to customize it on your own. So this is just giving you a bit of a student preview into the student view. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter as a guest, and that's the best way to enter, is just as a guest. So here we have a few different alignments. So I talked about different English and math alignments. So we'll just jump into the table one that we have already set up here. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to our goal. So the first step for students is to take a diagnostic. So this is just for us to get a snapshot of where the student is today. We want to see, okay, what does the student coming in know now? And then where can we help them improve? So we don't want them to spend time on things that they already know. This is so we can see what they know. Great, you've already mastered this skill. Now let's focus on where you can improve. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the initial diagnostic. And feel free to put questions in the chat. And I'm going to play this short video. This is just something we created specific for adult learners to put them at ease before going through a diagnostic. Again, we say it's a low stakes environment, but it's still an assessment and it still can be intimidating. So just as something to let them know what to expect.
Hi, I'm Ed Ready. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. I call this an initial diagnostic. This may seem like a test, but don't sweat it. The idea is to see what you know and what you need to work on, so you can focus on the stuff that matters most. Answer the questions as best you can without any outside help. If you really don't know an answer, just skip it. Skipping is better than guessing, okay? When you're done with this diagnostic, I will show you how you did. Then I will build you your very own study path with videos and other materials that you can use to improve your understanding of the topics where you may need help. You will be able to learn and test at your own pace. Ready? Let's get started.
All right, so now we're going to start the assessment. So I'm just going to fly through this for demo purposes, but this is something completely customizable by an institution. So you can create the learning objectives that are important for your students. And you see we have a pass button. You don't know the answer. So we really want this to be a true assessment for students. So if they don't know, we'd like them to pass rather than guess. So we can make sure to build them that personalized plan appropriately. And then there's also a hold button for students. If they want to kind of work through some other questions and hold one for later on, that's an option as well. And so here you can see, obviously I'm not doing well. So there's a little pop-up here, try to relax, it puts me at ease. I can continue the test, or I can kind of take a pause and go to the study path as well. And you can see lots of different types of questions, fill in the blank, matching choice, multiple choice. And again, since I'm just kind of skipping a lot of questions, I'm making great progress. Something again to put me at ease, so I can continue the test or I can skip it for now. I'm going to continue. This is a matching question type. Any options for this to be read out loud? Good question. So for this particular diagnostic, we don't, We don't have it built into this, but if you're using it with a screen reader such as JAWS or something else, it's completely, it would work great. Yep. So we are fully accessible. So any tool that you're using, you would be able to have that functionality. So I'll just kind of quickly go through this. So now I've finished the diagnostic and I have an initial score of 29. So that's really just a starting point. So it's nothing really to get discouraged at. This is where I'm starting and I'm reaching towards a particular goal. So here you can see we color code it, or we can also use shapes for colorblind folks. So the red means student is not quite ready in that particular topic. So if you hover over the square, you can see what that topic is. The yellow means needs review. So maybe I got some of the concepts, but not all of them. And then the green is the student has mastered that particular topic. So that's great. I've mastered a couple topics, have a bunch I need to review. And then the clear is I haven't been assessed on that. So we can't assess on everything in initial diagnostic. This is just a quick snapshot of where the student is now. So now I'm going to go to my study path. So again, this is my starting point. So I'm coming in with some knowledge. That's great. And this is where my goal is. So, and these are the different units that I'm going to go through to study in order to reach my goal. So students do kind of like a little gaming as they start to go through the units, their score is going to go through an increase on this number line as they get closer. And this target score is something as an institution you can set yourself. So we just have this as a demo, but very personalizable how you want to set this up. Students have an opportunity to test out of a unit one time. If they don't pass that, then it'll block out the unit test and force them to go into the learn resources. So our goal isn't to keep testing a student. We really want them to learn and go through our the resources so they actually can hopefully retain these skills to continue to use them. So I'm just going to jump into one of the learn resources so you can see what those look like. And we have lots of different partner resources that you'll be able to utilize as well. So here's a typical homepage for a student. They'll see what the learning objectives are for a particular unit. They have different resources available within each unit. So this will be the same for every unit, what those steps are. Typically, there's some warm up, which is an adaptive and just a way for students to practice before they get into the actual presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the presentation for this unit.
Whether you're adding a mileage log for your employer or figuring out how much paint you'll need to paint your living room or totaling your sitter's weekly pay, addition is something you use every day. It's a skill that all other arithmetic skills build on. Mastering a
So you can see here some real world examples. Closed caption is available for all of our videos in English as well as in Spanish. Our worked examples, these were created for the NROC project by
So we need to
Khan
figure out
himself.
46 plus 43 is. Let me write it down again, and I'll write it like this: 46 plus 43. What we do here is we
Again, closed caption available, but this is a great kind of whiteboard examples, kind of like a student is working directly with a tutor. Topic text. So we have embedded ebook within each of the units. So that's also available in English as well as in Spanish. And again, it's just a different, students have a variety of different learning preferences. So another way for us to present the material and the learning objectives in different ways with additional examples and resources here. But some of our learners use this as their textbook. And then we have practice. So this is adaptive. So students will get some feedback. So here, incorrect, remember to add each place value separately, and I can try the problem again. And if I don't get it right, it'll view the solution and it'll pop up in a separate window with a page that students can easily print out. And at the end of this, students will see how they did and be able to try again. But it's going to work with the student as an adaptive program. It'll try to scaffold as they get questions right, or it'll go down to a basic learning objective if they're not getting it correct. Any questions on the resources? So once a student goes through the Learn resources, they can go back to the study path. And they might want to, so I might want to test myself. So I can go through and see if I can get these questions correct and maybe pass out of this unit. So I'm just going through this quickly. I have not mastered all the topics. So I just wanted you to see that if I did not pass this unit, this topic test, then I'll be forced to go back into those learned resources again. So we don't have students testing over and over again, forces them to actually go through and try to learn the resources. Which resources are free for students? Checking the chat. So at edready.org, those are the free resources for students. So what we have already available in edready.org, and I'll just jump there really quickly. Any student can come here and create an account. And it's just what we have available. The advantage of partnering with us is, as an institution, you can customize the goals so we can make it specific to your particular targets or what your students need. And then the data. So we're going to jump into the data in a second, where you can actually start to see and track students. Do they get, let's see, can our school accrue hours for student work? Yes, and I'm going to get into that data in a second so you can see exactly the time, stuff like time on task that you'll see for students. So this was just a quick overview demo. There's lots of different things EdReady can do, but any questions? Do they get click happy? I haven't heard that too much. It's a pretty simple navigation. So students click on one unit, they go through each different topic, and then they move to the next unit. Certainly students, you can create parameters as much as you want to in the customized version. But yeah, students could jump to fractions and they could jump over to measurement. So they can kind of, which can be a benefit and a flaw, where students can bounce around. If like, okay, I think I know this pretty well, I'm going to try to test out of it first, build my confidence, and then go back to a unit maybe that's a little bit more difficult for me. So that's an option. So students can kind of make it their own in terms of working different areas, and they don't have to do everything in order. They can kind of go at their own pace. So something that an instructor maybe can help if you're working together on a particular unit, reining them in on, okay, let's focus on this one for the next few days. What is the lowest grade level of materials available? So for math, it's basic arithmetic. So it starts at a pretty low level. I mean, we have, users, I'll show an example soon, like, that have math at a third grade level that have started with some of our basic skills. So it starts with whole numbers. As I mentioned, for English, that starts at 9th grade level. So it's a bit higher, but for math, it's a pretty lower level. Any other questions? Thank you, Alicia. Love this. Anything students get hung up on when utilizing the site would be helpful for us to know if we start utilizing. I think it's more the concepts that students get hung up on. The most common error is just remembering their email and password. Like that's with everything. And like there's different ways to customize a program so you can get alerts, and you could send, put different messaging to build student confidence and things like that. any chance for low-level English coming in the future? We've talked about that. I mean, certainly something we always bring back ideas to the team. And as a nonprofit, you know, certainly we rely on grant funding and things like that as well for building out additional content. But we've seen creative ways for folks to use some of the English content as well. But definitely a good idea. All right, I'm going to jump back to, I know we're short on time, to the PowerPoint here so I can show you some of the data examples that I think is important for instructors to take a look at here. So instructors can access information about the progress of their classroom in various cohorts of students, and then they can dive deeper into individual student progress. So being able to kind of help your students and do interventions, help with small groups, one-on-one, or, you know, just general classroom views. And so let me just pause. I saw another question. Spanish translations sometimes are always available for a particular lesson. So in math, the Spanish translation is always available in our videos and in the text. So this report that you see on the screen is an overall summary of a student progress. So this is like a cohort of students. You see the overview of the class. Where is everyone? What's the median diagnostic score? There's different ways to look at this information at a glance. You can see chart or graph form. By default, you'll see all your students, but you have the ability to dive into a particular group or subset of students. So that would be this report. So this report includes a row for each student with details such as total time in EdReady, the time spent studying, their EdReady score details. So you can really see, okay, how many times did they take this assessment? How much did they actually watch this video? How much time did they spend in the learned resources or the text? So you can really go down to each individual student to see where they're spending their time. You can see their progress. So you can see that bar there. They started at a certain score, and after so much time studying, this is their current score. So lots of different ways, again, to take a look at this data as well. And this is just a sample report. We dive deeper into these individual student reports as well. Let's see. So one new report that we have available that we created particularly for our adult education partners is instructional contact hours. So we know a lot of you have reports that you need to send at the state and federal level, which is tied to your funding. So here you can look at specific date frames or even exclude date frames if you want to see a student's incremental growth. You can see what students are doing when they are not in your classroom. You can see time on task, lots of different ways to parse this data. You can sort by goals, study paths. You can show gains for each student, set parameters for timeframes. So this is a really cool report that is available with the custom version of EdReady. And as well as time on task in addition to the instructional hours. And all the data can be downloaded into an Excel file and moved into different forms for reporting purposes as well. So we have a few minutes, and I want to make sure we leave more time for questions as well, but I thought I'd dive into a couple of case studies. Forgive me if I'm talking quickly, trying to fit a lot of information into 5 minutes and to 45 minutes here. So here's a list of some of our adult education partners. Again, if you're already working with Literacy Minnesota, you have these resources available to you for your distant learning students, which I know probably changed a lot during COVID. But certainly we can talk about lots of ways that these institutions use in blended environments, use EdReady in in-person, face-to-face classroom environments. So we've seen quite a number of different use cases. One example is Montana. The state of Montana has been using EdReady for readiness, transitions, and adult education across the state, particularly at the Lifelong Learning Center. Students have a very wide range of skills there from 3rd grade to college level. And they have a lot of different pathways, GED, college-bound, certificate programs. And they had really encouraging data they've been using since 2015. And they saw some great increase in performance. So The first couple of years, there was a 62% increase of students from one educational functional level to another. So that we thought was amazing, and they continue to do great work there. And this quote here you see from Renee, while our program wasn't designed, and there was a question about the Spanish translation, it wasn't designed for ELL students, but the nature of how we develop the content, we found that ELL students do really well in this environment. So some of those reasons are they can go at their own pace. We have closed captioning in our videos, plus available in Spanish. I wish we had more languages, but hopefully more to come soon. There's a voice reader function in English. So someone asked about the voice reader for the diagnostic. We do have that for the reading passages in our English Ed Ready version. So lots of creativity in terms of how the ESL population has used our program. Another example, Renton Technical College. They are using Ed Ready with a workforce training program, as well as GED and other career pathway professions. So they use across, a different spectrum for their students, and in different settings too. So they're using a lot of it as a lab in their classroom setting, in-person setting. So teachers kind of circulate, do breakout sessions, and that has worked really well for them to keep students engaged. And here are just a couple quotes from students at Renton Technical. They love the videos. The student in their mid-30s has really helped them kind of remember different math concepts, which is cool. Skip over this example for time purposes. But we have a lot of pathways already built out in Ed Ready for certificate and degree programs. We actually have 152 different alignments that actually folks at Renton Technical College helped us build out. So this is the math needed for these different careers. They're not contextualized. You're not going to see a video of like a lab tech or performing different tasks, but it's the math needed to be successful in these particular career programs. So these are ready to go out of the box that we already have developed in Ed Ready. So something I'd like to point out that I think is really a benefit that not a lot of folks necessarily take advantage of. So one thing, everyone loves free resources. So Hippocampus is another free and open resource available to you. It's more of, thanks, Rob, for putting that out. So edready.org is more of a student.
Hello. I'm
And
good. What's up?
Sorry, someone. All right, so Hippocampus is a bit more of an instructor tool. So I'm going to just pop over to this link here. So it's a repository of all of our media. So not only our media that we have in Ed Ready, but we've partnered with all these different folks and different subject areas outside of math and English, where you can create playlists with any of these videos. And we have instructions kind of embedded in here. Once you create an account as a teacher, you'll be able to create a playlist and that you can share with your students. So tons of different media links and graphics. So if you click on one of the topics, you'll be able to click and see the media resources available. So sounds like we have some Hippocampus users already. Awesome to see. Love that feedback. So certainly you'll get have that link in the chat. It'll also be available in the PowerPoint. We'd love to hear how you're using Hippocampus. Because Ed Ready is so widely used, Hippocampus sometimes takes a back seat, but I think it's a really cool tool, and there's so many resources and different topic areas. And I have another QR code here from our folks in Kentucky that already created playlist for their adult ed folks. So if anyone wants something to correlate with TABE and GED, you can get this QR code. And that might be a great way to start with Hippocampus. Questions? Has anyone used this for ESL? If so, how do they use it? Are you talking, Alicia, specifically Hippocampus or Ed Ready? Yes, Hippocampus. Yeah, so definitely used with ELL students in various ways. I'll have to see exactly how Hippocampus might be used by some of our partners. That's a really good question. So a lot of these videos do have Spanish available. Well, all of our videos, the NROC videos, a lot of them should have closed caption in Spanish available. But because a lot of them are media resources that you can pause and go at your own pace, they are really nice in that sense, but kind of similar how you would use any kind of media. But that's a great question. And I think we'll have to ask some of our existing partners how they use Hippocampus. Okay, so I love this quote, and I've been in the technology education world for over 13 years, and what teachers do and the relationships they build with their students are the most important component, but certainly technology can empower teachers to individualize instruction at scale, something really important with diversity backgrounds and experience of learners that you serve as adult education. So I just like to point that out, like, this is a tool that's, hopefully could be helpful for the learners that you serve to help you scale. But, how you use it as an instructor and those relationships you form certainly are key to everything. So it's a whole package deal. Nothing can be done without the other. And I won't play the video just because we're running out of time, but I think it's cool that Latanya is now working at a law firm. She's exceeded her expectations in her schoolwork. So just really cool, full circle when we get to see students' stories. So if anyone has student stories, please share them. We love to hear it. But yeah, we actually just were talking about her yesterday and saying that she is, working in law school. So there's nothing you can't achieve. Initially scared to do math, hadn't graduated high school as an adult, and now is in law school. So very cool story there. So again, this is my contact information, but certainly reach out to folks at Literacy Minnesota for your distance learning students if you're interested in using EdReady and you're not already. I will drop my email in the chat as well, but it'll be in this PowerPoint. Love to take any questions as we have a few minutes left here. Oh, thanks, Rob. You already did that. Appreciate everyone taking the time. I know there's a lot of great sessions today. Look forward to jumping on some this afternoon myself. So appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much. I'll hang out for a few minutes for questions.